Hey guys, it's Sherry Vegas and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be making really cool resin coasters doing the flower bloom effect and also with some glitter just to make it a little bit different. Okay, so a few things that you're going to need is some silicone molds. I've decided that I'm going to do two small demo ones trying out slightly different techniques, and then for the last one that I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do quite like a big one using one of the Shattered Shapes molds. And you're going to need some resin. Today I'm using the casting resin. It's called Crystal Cast from Make Art Resin. I'll add the links below. Some glitter, some white pigment paste, and all the other little bits and pieces you need to make coasters with resin. So let's get started. The two molds that I'm using as my little testers are just from my Amazon store, and I'll pop the link in the description box below. And then I'm using the Crystal Cast Make Art casting resin. So because I am casting, it is great to use a epoxy casting resin instead of just a normal epoxy resin. This is a 2:1 ratio, so one part is really thin and the second part is a little bit thicker, but it also helps you get less bubbles. And then once I've measured that out, I just mix that up. Then I just give my molds a clean out, just removing any residue or dust or dirt that might be in there from a previous pour. I like to do this with a bit of alcohol spray and some paper towel, because if you leave anything from a previous pour or dust or dirt in, that's going to cast into the next item that you do cast into those molds. So it's always just important to give them a really good clean before using them. And then I've got this new color from Just Resin, and it's called Lilac, and it's a big like flaky purpley glitter. So I'm going to be placing that into the center of my flower coaster, and I've made it quite thick so you can see I'm adding quite a lot of glitter. And then I'm just going to add the tiniest amount of my casting resin. I want this to be quite gloopy and thick so that way it stays in the spot I put it, which is going to be the center of my flower. For my second coaster, I decided to go with a different color combination. I started off with this really soft pink glitter from Archery Creations, and then I added some little gold chips, as well as adding in some rose gold glitter, and this one is from Color Passions, and I got a really beautiful color combination with those colors together. And the white that I am using today is just a titanium white, and that is from Just Resin. On a mixing cup, I just put a plastic bag over the top, as for some of these coasters I was trying the piping bag effect, and it's easier to pour the resin into when you have it like going over the coaster, because that way it pours straight down into the corner of the plastic bag. I poured my white resin into like my fake little makeshift piping bag. I have tried this technique once before and I did struggle a little bit with the piping bag, so I thought I would give it another go and see if I liked it, see if it is easier than pouring directly from my little plastic cups. I then divided my clear resin off into two parts and just covered the surface of each of my coaster molds about halfway up. I am going to be doing a glitter backing, so I didn't fill my molds the whole way up. And this original idea came from another YouTuber, and I think her YouTube channel is Art For You. I'll have to double check it. I will also add her YouTube channel down in the description box below, so make sure you do go and check her out if you don't already subscribe to her channel. And I just thought they looked so beautiful that I wanted to give it a try, and she does put up a very helpful hints and tips in that video, so definitely worth checking it out. And I am using different glitter, casting resin, all different items from the ones that she uses, so it'll be interesting to see the difference if you do use different brands and different products. So I've just placed my purple lilac glitter in the center of one of my molds, and you can see I dropped a bit on the outside, so I had to very carefully scoop it out. And then then on the other mold, I am doing my little rose gold glitter mix into the center. And you want this to be thicker than everything else, because you just don't want your little centerpiece, which is meant to be the center of your flower, to disperse too much out into your casting resin or into the clear resin. And then with my little makeshift piping bag, I just cut off the tip. Very, very tiny amount cut off. If you cut too much off, you're going to have a thicker hole and more resin's going to come out, and it's going to be harder to get like more detail work when you have it too thick. So I was struggling so much with this piping bag. I do not like using it at all. It is just not for me. So I poured the rest of my titanium white resin back into the cup, and then I just pinched the cup, and I found that so much more easier. So on one side, I've decided to do really big, wide petals. And then on this side, I decided to do lots of little petals. And I am trying to get it so they go between each other. But it is really hard to make this look neat. I don't know, maybe it will come with a bit of time and practice. I will get the hang of this. The reason why I did the two different sizes in petals is I want to see what the difference is between really tight petals and really loose petals, whether it looks nicer to have when I do my glitter backing, having the glitter come through the petals, or whether I want really tight petals because I don't want to see any glitter except for on the outside edge. The tip I have found when doing these coasters is you need to let your resin get warm before you use it. If you try to use your resin when you first mix it up, especially if you are using casting resin, it's really thin, it's really fluid, and you find that your petals won't hold their shape. They'll just start to disperse way too much out into your clear casting resin. So that is definitely a tip. You want your resin to be warm, obviously not hot or not starting to gel and set, but not cold, not freshly mixed when it's at its most fluid point. So I think I waited about 20 minutes and it was a warm day, but just keep checking on your resin because that will depend on where you live and the temperature of your climate at that moment, because I know I will have to adjust that when it comes to winter in Australia. So it's been about 4 hours and it was time to pour my glitter background to this flower coaster. I can't tell whether these have worked out yet or not because obviously they're facing downwards. So it was just a little bit of like hoping that they were looking good before I poured the glitter background to them. I'm just doing the same glitter combination for each one, but I am going to add a little bit of shimmer powder into each side. So I did my rose gold and my pink glitter from Archery Creation, and then I also added a little bit of this pinky gold shimmer as well. And then on the other side I did my lilac glitter and then also added in this really strong purple shimmer as well to go along with my glitter. These are both from Artie Sue, which is no longer available, but I'm sure you can find very similar colors in the shimmer powders from Just Resin, Color Passions, Archery Creation. There's some really good ones. And for the Americans, I think there's Countertop. They do some really nice ones, and Color Art. How good did these turn out?
So this one was the one where I made the petals bigger, and I've got a lot more like gaps where the glitter is popping through, which is really cool. And then this is the one where I did the petals to be smaller and a lot tighter. And I really like both of them. I think they're both really pretty, but I think I'm gonna go with this one for my big one, just because I do really like it when it's got a bunch of like the little bunched up petals. It kind of reminds me of like a peony. So yeah, we're gonna make this, but bigger now.
This is just to show you the size difference between the coaster mold and the mold that I'm using for this one. I mixed up 150 mils of casting resin, which is my crystal cast resin, and it's the same sort of process to begin with as the start. The tips that I have picked up from doing this is, one, I don't like the piping bag at all. It is not for me. I way prefer just pouring from my little plastic cups that I can just squeeze tight. I really like using the titanium white and a few drops of the pinata white alcohol ink. So the titanium white is from Just Resins and it's a pigment paste, and then I add a few drops of the white alcohol ink into that, and I find it just helps disperse that white a little bit more, softens it than keeping it together. The alcohol ink, just the way it reacts in the resin, it does help to soften the edges of your petals. So that is a personal preference, and you'll see what I mean when you see this one, because I didn't use it in the first two coasters. The second thing that I know about this sort of technique is the resin needs to be warm. You can't pour it straight away. It needs to start to go into that sort of gelling process, thickening up, and this will change depending on the type of resin you use and also your environment that you're in. So for me, it took about 20 minutes to get to that point. But obviously, if you're in a really cold climate, it might take you 40 minutes. It's just something you've got to check on and keep touching and make sure it's good. If you do have a thermometer, you can always check, and then once you kind of understand what temperature it needs to be at, then that's a great way to check. I was just doing it by feeling it, and once it was good, it's ready to go. I also say don't split your resin up straight away. Keep it all into the one container before until it is ready to go, because the first time I tried this, I split it all up straight away. And what I mean by that is I put the resin I needed for my white in my little cup and the resin I needed for the glitter in the little cup, and then all the clear resin I left in my big cup. But what went wrong with that was, because the big cup is denser and there was more resin, that got hotter faster, but then my two little cups with my colors in them, they didn't get to the same temperature as that, and when I did it, it threw it all off because my white was too runny, but my clear was really thick and it just didn't work well. So that's my third little tip, is to make sure you leave, when you mix your 150 mils up, leave it to sit in the one cup, and then once it is ready to be poured, then divide it out into your white and into your glitter. So that way it will be the same temperature throughout all three of your resin little mixtures. And the last little tip for this technique is just to get your heat gun and to go around the outside to soften those and kind of push them back in, and then also to go around the inside to spread those out. This just helps get the white resin to slowly start to fan out into the clear resin. You don't want to go too crazy with this because you don't want to lose the shape, but you just want to help it and guide it along its way. Now it's time to pour my glitter background to this, and I decided I wanted to add some of my gold little chips around just the outer edge, so that way I'd get a really pretty little gold glitter border. And because these are heavier than the glitter, they are going to stay at the bottom. So in resin, whatever is the most dense which basically means whatever is the heaviest is going to sink to the bottom. But luckily, because of the way I'm pouring this, my bottom is actually going to be the top, which works out really well. And then I just did the same mixture I did the first time around and poured that all over, and the results are really beautiful.
Okay guys, so it is time to demold this piece. I poured it yesterday, so it is ready to come out of the mold. And look how big it is. It's like the same size as my head. I don't know what this looks like because it's gonna be like, I poured it going down, so all I know what it looks like is just this glittery bit. So let's pull it out. Ooh. Oh my god! I actually really like it. That is so cool. So I did this one with a bunch of the little petal effect, and I made the center really gloopy, and honestly that center just sparkles. And then added just those gold bits around the outside, and then those little lines that I added in, which I really didn't know would, like, if it would make a difference, but I actually really like them. So how cool is this piece? It's turned out really nice. I really like it. It does look like a peony. Really cool. So I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. This is my first tutorial for 2021, so I hope everyone has had a really great New Year's, a safe New Year's, and is ready for a good start to 2021. Fingers crossed. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up, as that really helps my channel out and lets YouTube know to show this video to more people. If you are new to my channel, why not subscribe? I post new videos every single week. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, so that way you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And I do art, craft, DIY, lots of resin projects, candle making, all of the fun stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching.